Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode number 88 of the WP Cafe Show with your hosts, me, Mark Wilkinson, and my colleague, Keith Devon. If you are new here, thank you very much for joining us. This is the weekly WordPress podcast where we talk about all things WordPress. It's usually just the two of us, so it tends to be conversations around what we've been up to, stuff we've been working on, stuff we've been reading, things we've been watching, and stuff we kind of read in the community. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in listening to and watching, then please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel just below this video. Please like this video if you're enjoying it as well. It always helps us out. And as always, please let us know in the comments who you are, where you're watching from or listening from. It is always nice to see some people that are actually paying attention to what we've been saying. Anyway, that's the intros all done with. How has your week been, Keith?
It has been. So I'm just tweeting out that we're live, just to my week has been short. 4-day week. So
of course, yeah, we had a bank holiday, didn't we?
Nice little short week. It's been okay. Had a bit of frustration then fun around RackPress. So our job board service. That we launched a year ago. We found out today that I think our first one was a year, which seems crazy. I would have guessed about 6 months, and I think you said the same. So yeah, had some fun around that. And that initially we had a kind of client request. They bought it without talking to us first, which is something we've got to sort out in our kind of workflow, or like I don't even know what you call that flow. Purchase flow. People really need to talk to us first to make sure that we can actually deliver what they need. That didn't happen in this case, and someone bought the product, and
which is very unusual.
Which is really, I think it's probably the first time. And then sent me a design. It's like, we want it to look like this. I'm like, oh crap, like, that's gonna be tricky. So I sent back an email basically saying, this is hard. We can't do that. But these are the compromises. It could look like this. And they were basically like, yeah, okay. Compromise. So started working on it. And just bit by bit, the two of us just kind of figured out how to do all of the things. So I get to kind of have a bit of fun with CSS, seeing what kind of push the boundaries of what can be done and what can't be done in CSS with these things. And then we also found out that, as always, you built things in a fairly extensible way. So we were able to use some hooks and filters and things. We also found out that there would be some potentially useful hooks and filters in a future version that we would like to add to do certain things. But yeah, it's been kind of fun. And then we had a bit of a breakthrough this morning as well, thinking, why don't we just do it this way? And we're like, yeah. So yeah, it's been a good week, I think, for RackPress, in the sense that, this project has pushed its boundaries and made us think about things and discover things. And so, yeah, that's been my main.
Yeah, it's good. It'll definitely make the product or service better, I think, from that. And I think it just goes to show, if you're fortunate enough to be working with other people, like just literally talking things through leads to solutions to problems. Like this morning was like wow, why don't we just do it like that? That's so much easier, and it allows us to be more flexible. I'm not saying like it will replace what we had originally, but it certainly gives us another option, which was nice. And chatting through things like that makes you find the answers, which is good. A bit like they call it rubber ducking, where you talk to the rubber duck in front of you rather than someone else. But it definitely worked, which is good. That was good.
Yeah, so that was good.
My week's been slow, steady. Not an awful lot of big stuff to get into. Proposals were still involved with that. We had some nice feedback from one of the proposals we sent out. I think that was earlier this week, or was it last week? Can't remember, but we sent that one out. That was nice to get that back. So hopefully we'll continue that conversation with that client.
Yeah.
I've been handling some support requests as usual, handling some sales as usual, which has been nice. Had a few new customers sign up this week. So yeah, it's been slow and steady, very uneventful.
Yeah.
But cracking on, which is good. Yeah. We've got some hellos from people. So hi, Courtney, listening from the garden in Cornwall. I hope it's nice weather in Cornwall. It's actually quite nice up here in the north. which is nice. We've got Paul. Hi there, Paul, from Suffolk. But it's sunny there, so maybe it is nice down there. Hi from Jackson. Good afternoon. And from Nick Wilmot. Sorry, afternoon, chaps, he says. So afternoon, Nick. Nice to have you joining us.
Yeah.
As usual. So today's episode has kind of really only got one topic that we're going to discuss. Well, we keep saying this, like it's going to be a short episode, and then we end up going on for 45 minutes. So we'll see what happens today. But the topic that we thought of discussing was demonstrating the block editor. Now, this came up when we were doing our proposals and we were talking to some potential clients. And that one of the things we always thought, wouldn't it be a great idea to actually show them WordPress, modern WordPress, in terms of like block editor WordPress, rather than perhaps what they already had experience of WordPress, which was most likely to be the old editor, or even more likely to be something along the lines of a page builder, probably Elementor these days. That's people's perception of what WordPress actually is. So we wanted to sort of like take them away from that perception, because we're not building that for them. We're going to be building something else using the block editor and hopefully full site editing. So we had the idea of demonstrating the block editor on a call, doing a screen share. How did that go, Keith?
I think we both felt that actually it was quite underwhelming. So I think we did it with the good. Did you load it up on a local site?
We've
done it two different ways recently. Yeah,
it was just 2024.
And you load it up, and it's like, this is what you can do. Add a heading, great. Add a paragraph, great. Right. Yeah. Add a group with a background color. Oh crap, this isn't looking very good. Like, it's I think maybe we need to start from something a bit more impressive, as in, this was built with the editor. Wow, look at this. This is amazing. And this is how it looks in the back end.
Yeah.
And click here and you can edit this, and click here and you can edit that. I think that's probably the better approach. Starting from a blank slate, it's very, very difficult to get to anything that they can kind of relate to in terms of what they think their website's going to look like.
I also think that it actually scares them sometimes, because the way we demonstrated it, which I think we've both agreed was not the best way of doing it, and we'd do something differently. But the way we demonstrated, you load up this blank page, and you're essentially saying to the user, you can go and create all the pages from nothing. And actually, they're like, "Oh my god, I don't want to do that. That's horrendous. Like, I can't do that." Yeah. So actually, you need to start from something else. I think, like you suggested, having a page which is already built, and then you can create. And then we talked about the fact you can use patterns and things like that, but it never really sort of had, I don't feel like it had the sort of wow moment in their mind as to the power of what we were delivering them.
No, absolutely not.
Rather than delivering, and I still think clients think like this, they think you're going to deliver them a template for X, Y, Z, A, B, and C. And when they're writing a page, they can choose which of those templates they're going to use, and then that will change the way in which they edit the content. Maybe how we've done it historically, you set a page template to this, and then you get different fields to fill in to make it look like this on the design. That's what clients still think they're going to get, I think.
And we can still deliver that, because obviously with patterns, we can effectively build templates for people. Like either modular or like full page kind of templates, and with the site editor we can deliver page templates, so that is still possible. But I get what you're saying. Like, that blank slate thing, it's just like, it's not what they're after at all, for the most part.
It was difficult to get across what we were trying to achieve.
I'm just gonna jump in with what Courtney's just shared. Doesn't this show that WordPress needs its own promotional video, just like its competitors? If not for itself, a resource for agencies bringing clients on the platform. 100%. Yes, please. We've talked about this before. I was just about to say this exact point. Like, this ties into the whole marketing of the platform. So Courtney, I could not agree more with you. I think I would love something that is a slick, something to the standard of things like, Squarespace and Wix put out these days, but for the block editor, you know, introducing WordPress's block editor and just showing all of these cool things happening in a really like slickly presented way. I just think that would be amazing. You know, put a link to that in your proposals and whatever. It doesn't have to come from WordPress either. Like, you know, I was going to say another agency could do it, but then you probably wouldn't link to it if it was another agency's work.
Yeah.
But
that
yeah,
leads
100%.
on to another topic actually, which I'll come to in a second, which just got me thinking about it with the video idea. But linking to that as well, if you had that video, and I thought this on the call as well, I was demonstrating all this stuff that was just in WordPress out of the box. I did think, isn't the client going to be sat there thinking, well, what are you doing in this project? Because literally all this stuff's in WordPress. You know, literally, what are you actually doing in this project?
But I think we need to start showing our work. You know, we've built some projects, you know, using the block editor, and you could then go in and you should show them the branded version. It's just whether or not that's a cool thing to do. Like, maybe
showing the editing of someone's website. I think that's a bit so live.
It doesn't have to be the live website. Exactly. It could be a local version of the website or a staging site. It doesn't have to be you know. And it could be a test page, but you're demonstrating these are the patterns we've built. This is how we branded things in terms of like typography, colors, blah, blah, blah. This is like a custom block that we built. So you could actually show them, you know, custom blocks as well and what we can do around that stuff. So, we need to get better at that, because I feel both times we've done that recently, it's almost harmed us rather than helped us a little bit.
Yeah, I think our proposal almost is getting towards, here's how we're going to tame WordPress to be good for you, because WordPress is ultimately it's now very, very powerful, but at the same time quite scary, because like I said, you get this blank slate. How am I supposed to create this page from this blank slate? So our job is actually almost to give you the tools and things to be able to do that more easily with what WordPress provides, you know. And that includes a whole realm of things like setting the spacing rules in Theme.json or wherever you set them these days, setting the font sizes so they're all branded, setting the color palette so they're all branded, giving you patterns for X, Y, and Z, allowing you to choose those patterns, maybe doing some locked patterns. So it's kind of that's where we add value now, not necessarily building a query loop to pull in the latest 6 jobs, because actually it's almost there, isn't it?
I mean, in a way, things haven't changed that much, because the way we previously added value was we would either do a design or take a design and make that design work in WordPress. The way we used to do that was different, but that's effectively still our job. Like, you want your site to look like this, we are going to enable you to do that. Like, we know the tools, we know the best way to put this together for you to achieve that end goal. So the tools have changed, but the job's actually kind of similar.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, it'd be interesting to hear what you guys do if you're, you know, pitching for clients. Do you demonstrate things for them? Do you have a video? Do you know, what do you do? It'd be good to find out. If you've got anything to let us know in the comments, that'd be good. Peter, thanks, Peter. It's put into the topic. This is actually what I was just going to come on to based on the comments about the video. WP marketing is a big topic. Note that the marketing team on the Make is being closed, and a media corp team is launching to feed into WP media outlets. Right. So the way I read this was that WordPress is actually going to not have a dedicated marketing team, but it's going to have a group, the Media Corp group, that is going to focus on working with existing WordPress media outlets and people in the WordPress space to kind of help them market WordPress, because that's what they already do and they're already good at it.
But we don't need to market within ourselves. We need to market to people outside of WordPress. So it's all very good having a team that like outreach to the WordPress media outlets, but we need general media outlets. We don't need WordPress media outlets. We need to be reaching people that are considering WordPress or haven't used WordPress, or like WordPress gets absolutely bashed and assaulted on a daily basis from every other platform. And I feel like we're not kind of defending ourselves in a way. Like who did we speak to recently? We were on a client. Who was that? Who were we talking to? Oh, it's a guy in the recruitment space that we were talking to, and he has a recruitment tools website. So people that are looking for the latest CRM or whatever. And we were chatting to him. So he's like got a really good general knowledge of the whole ecosystem. He actually uses WordPress for his website and likes WordPress. But what he was saying, he was like, the marketing of all of your competitors in the recruitment space just crap all over WordPress all the time. That's their marketing. It's like, don't use WordPress because of X, Y, Z. Use our tool instead. It's more secure. It's blah, blah, blah. You don't have to worry about updates. And who's defending WordPress like in the public kind of arena? Against that kind of attack. I don't know. It's something I thought about for us, Mark, would be a really good angle. Like we often think about going on like industry podcasts and things like that. Yeah. And we're like, but what are we going to say? What are people interested in? I think the defense of WordPress or the promotion of open source is potentially a really good angle. Like you've heard these myths over and over and over again, right? We're gonna tell you the truth.
Yeah.
The difficulty with that is that we are obviously WordPress people, so it's just going to look like, well, of course they're going to say that because they want to get hired.
Yeah, but we are WordPress people, but we are not tied to WordPress. We are not, we're not employed by WordPress. We're not biased in that sense. We're biased only by the fact that we use it and like it. We're not contractually tied to it or anything like that, is it? So it's not like, someone from, a big company telling you that their product is the best because they clearly work for that company and they're paid by that company. So they are doing well. We're not at all.
Yeah.
In many cases, we are unbiased. We are independent. We just happen to choose to use it.
Yeah. Because we know that so many people use those kind of proprietary systems and just hate it. They get sucked in by the marketing. Oh, yeah. Come and use our amazing flexible CMS. Oh, sorry, what? I have to pay like 200 quid for you to change a heading on a page? Like, that is happening constantly in the recruitment industry, but nobody's calling them out on it, and nobody's like saying there's a better choice. Like I don't think maybe we're not loud enough, that we're not shouting that message loud enough. I don't know. It's an angle that we could potentially use.
You might be right.
Yeah.
I hope I got that explanation of the new WordPress Media Core right, Peter. If I didn't, then please correct me, and I'll try and post that out better. But I think that's, from my understanding, what's kind of the theory behind it. And I think it is. I read it's still kind of experimental. It's not like set in stone. It can adapt and change as things start. But that was the idea behind it, I believe. So there is a post on it which I can put in the show notes, which I can't put out. It'd take me too long to do a banner, and you probably want to read it. But it's on the WordPress make WordPress.org. You'll find it in there, so you can have a look at it and the sort of decisions about it as well. It links to the original post, which was the sort of announcement post about this is going to happen type thing.
Yeah,
interesting though, because marketing is an issue that I think. I mean, you were saying that it's no good marketing to WordPress media outlets. Call them media outlets, but surely, let's say you're a YouTuber and you've got a YouTube channel talking about WordPress. Non-WordPress people might find that if they're looking for some information on how to build a website. So in which case that kind of is relevant, that's got the content in that's relevant. If that makes sense.
Maybe. Yeah, I just think we need... Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, marketing for something like this is tricky. Yeah. I do think that some marketing to developers is important because we need to keep people like us on board so we keep using WordPress. And
definitely.
And talk about it favorably occasionally. Just jumping in, a comment from Mike Ritter. He says, Mike from Fairfax, Virginia. Very cool. We've got a very international audience today. That is in the States, I'm assuming. The block editor has convoluted content and design so much, but I think this is a typo, but effectively combined with the style editor and when the blocks are locked down can be cool. says the product is becoming more and more about publishing and less about content management, which, let's face it, it was originally for publishing. That's true. That's fair to say that. And Sam has jumped in. He says volcanic access recruitment websites charge to change headers. Yep, that's pretty much who I was talking about, Sam. So, yeah, we're in the same. Sam's in the same kind of industry as us, so that's interesting. I just wanted one more just to shout out to Juan, who says hello from Patagonia. Amazing. Patagonia is an incredible place. I've been very lucky to have been there before. So beautiful part of the world.
Is that in Argentina?
Yeah, kind of Argentina, Chile.
Chile on the
yeah.
So,
down in the Andes, down there. It is stunning. Yeah.
Peter has just clarified. Thank you, Peter. MediaCorp will communicate to qualified media partners. So I presume there's a criteria for becoming a qualified media partner. And he says that includes having 80% WP content.
What?
How do you define what 80% is? What if I have 79% media content?
That's
interesting.
Bizarre. I find that really weird. I really do find that weird. Anyway, that's a whole other topic, I think. I don't... I need to read it and like get my head into the kind of context around that. Yeah, strange stuff.
So moving on, this is actually in our things we've been reading and watching list. It was something that Keith put in on modern WordPress themes, and I think the chap's called David Bushell. Is that correct?
Yeah,
he's a developer here in the UK in Manchester, which is not a million miles away from me. And this was an article all about his experience of modern WordPress. Take it away. What did you take away from this?
This is hat tip to my kind of mastermind group. Tim Nash shared this mastermind group. Makes it sound so ridiculous. It's just a group of people having a chat every week. Usually nothing about WordPress as well. Tim shared this article. It's called Modern WordPress. Yikes. And this is a developer. I'm not sure what he typically develops on, but I get the impression that he dabbles in a lot of technologies. Basically, he's a web guy. And he's come back, he's kind of been pretty disenfranchised with the whole Gutenberg idea for a while by the looks of things. He's written blog posts about things in the past, but he's come back to it again recently just to see where we're at, and he's not impressed. And he basically takes apart the 2024 theme. Now, I have nothing against the 2024 theme developers. I'm not saying that they are doing a bad job in any way. So this isn't a criticism of the theme. It's a criticism of modern WordPress theme development specifically. But he just goes through it like the simplest stuff. He opens a template file, something.php, and he's like, there's no PHP in this file. Like, it's all HTML comments with this kind of weird JSON-like data. He's like, so what the hell is this? That's weird. And then looks like there's some CSS in there as well, he says, like within the JSON. That's weird. And then he just goes on and on. He comes to the bit that was maybe the most interesting to me. Well, the first bit, he's going around in circles, basically. So he opens a template file and there's nothing in it except this one comment. But it references something else, and he goes over there, and that's another PHP file again with no PHP in it, and it references this other thing, which is an HTML comment, and it's just like, what the hell's going on? What language are we even working in here? But it's when he gets the styling that's kind of interesting. So he opens up the style.css, the theme style sheet. He's like, there is literally no CSS in this for a start. That's a bit odd. So it's just being used as data now, so like for metadata, which has kind of been the case for a while for a lot of themes. So whatever. And then he says, so where are all the styles? Obviously, he finds his way to theme JSON, and he's like, what kind of way is this to write CSS? For example, they're using the ampersand operator in one of the lines, and he's like, I don't know what that relates to. Like, so that's like a parent kind of operator. He's like, what's the parent? I can't see what the parent is, so I don't know what CSS this is, what kind of element this is actually referring to. So you've got all this weird CSS in there. He talks about like nothing really cascades properly anymore. Like the generated CSS is really bulky because you're not making use of cascades, so everything needs to be very specific. Then you've got all these specificity issues because you've had to make stuff so specific. And then there's a bit, let me just scroll down to it. Yeah. So he says, so to recap, the flagship WordPress theme has CSS in front matter, CSS in PHP, CSS in JSON, CSS in HTML-JSON, CSS in HTML style elements, CSS in style attributes, CSS in external style sheets. I'm not even sure that's all of them. And he said no CSS in JS for the complete set, sadly. It just like, that's a mess, right? Like, CSS was in such a good place, really not very long ago, like pre-Gutenberg. It was it's an incredible, I don't really want to call it language. It is kind of a language, but it's an incredible tool. And like the new features that were coming out were exciting. And then it feels like we've just regressed to this, like, it's not even cascading anymore. Like, it doesn't do the fundamental thing that it's supposed to do. Like, if you're like me and CSS is your like web development love, which it's my original love, it's what got me into this whole thing. WordPress is just a horrible, horrible place to work these days. But maybe the means justify the end. Yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts?
The bit that I was interested in, it was the bit when he's talking about the templates, you know. So, okay, he's like, we've got these templates that are PHP files. They're not actually PHP, but we've got them in the theme and we can go in and edit them. And then he was like, but they don't actually do anything because when I edit them, nothing changes. And it's like, oh, that's because they've been stored in the database because someone's made customizations to them. So how do I actually edit them was his question. And I think he makes some really valid points. I think, you know, it is a bit of a mess. But then, as I always think about when people write these sort of articles, is, okay, what should we do? Like, what is the best way? Because this stuff is hard. This stuff is, you know, the benefit we've got from this, having to edit things, you know, full site editing and being able to use blocks and so on, which I think most of us agree with now that is the way forward, then it is hard. So how do you do it if this is a mess? And I'd love to someone like write a counter argument that says, this is how I would have done it, you know, and this is the way forward.
Or not even how I would have done it. Like, wait, I think that would be interesting. Like, what platforms out there are doing this better? Like, what is the gold standard for a block style, like type editor that gives users the kind of control that maybe we don't want to give them, but the project as a whole wants to give them? And how do we get there? Like, how do we get from where we are today to something that looks a bit more like that? Or has that horse bolted? Like, is that never going to happen now just because we're locked into this weird way of doing things, which just feels like, I think he calls it a monumental hack, which is what WordPress feels like to me right now.
Yeah. Courtney, thank you, Courtney says, sounds like a mess. Anyway, let's get on and develop some new features, interactivity, API, anyone, real-time collaboration. And then follows that up with messing around. Obviously, it's an easy fix. Get involved and contribute, which is kind of what we talked about last week. And doing that is extremely difficult. I think, was it last week we talked about the tweet was that someone was saying they couldn't get involved. It's just too complicated now to help out. So, which is how I feel. This stuff, I just don't. You know, I read that interactivity API stuff and I just don't get it. Doesn't compute in my brain at all. So
it reminds me of, how do you get to your bookmarks in Twitter? Because I bookmarked something the other day.
I didn't know you had bookmarks in Twitter.
Yeah. Did you not?
No.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a bit of a sidebar, but just relevant to that whole contribute thing. So Remkes de Vries, who I have a lot of time and respect for, tweeted something that had me thinking. And well, initially I was going to send a kind of hot-headed reply to, and I managed to like delete multiple tweets that I was about to send and not send anything because I wanted to have a proper think about it. But I'll read you the tweet and I'll just see how you react to it. You probably saw it, Mark. If you find yourself bitching and moaning about WordPress not working the way you want, ... find out if you're actually helping to make WordPress it better as well. So it's a bit of a typo there, which is fine. English isn't its first language, and typos are fine. But basically, I really took exception to that tweet. I really, really didn't like it. I felt attacked. Like I was like, is he talking about me? Is he talking about people like me bitching and moaning? Am I bitching and moaning? Like, am I not allowed to do that? Am I not allowed to criticize things?
So sorry, my poor understanding of things in general is that he's basically saying, don't moan about WordPress, get involved and change it.
Yes.
Right. That's what I understood.
Sorry, I say yes. That is how I took the tweet. That's how I read the tweet. So Remkes, if that is not the intention, I apologize. But it read like that to me. And I know he's not, he's a good guy. Like, I know he's well-intentioned. But it really annoyed me. Like, and I was trying to work out why. It's like, what? I was going to say,
why did it annoy you then?
It was the bitching and moaning. It was the kind of like, it's not okay for us to be critical,
right?
Like, just contribute. Like, I'm sort
of. No, I don't think I read it like that.
Okay, how did you read it?
Or listen to it as I've just listened to it from you. I think he's more saying like, people that are bitching and moaning, as in that's fine. Don't just do that. Go and change it. You know. Why not just get off your backside and change and do something different and put forward suggestions
Mark,
and do
stuff? The question is put to you. Stop bitching, moaning. What are you doing about it?
I can't do anything about it.
Right. Well, exactly.
That's the problem. Yeah, I can't.
That's my point. It just kind of like it feels like it kind of minimizes the situation that we actually all find ourselves in at the minute, which is massive frustration and powerlessness. Like, that's how I feel about WordPress. It's like, I don't matter anymore. Like, I don't feel like I can make a change. I feel, unless I'm like sponsored by a big company to really get into the weeds of things, I can't. Like, this is my contribution to WordPress. Like, conversations like this, you know, going to meetups. You're giving a talk soon at a meetup. You know, that I feel like people contribute in their own ways. Like, just using WordPress is contributing in a way. Like, you know, getting the next client onto WordPress, like talking. This feeling that like there's all these people out here just bitching and moaning. Just shut up or like get involved. I don't like it. I don't like it.
I just can't get involved. I think can't get involved for a number of reasons. One is that I don't have the skills to get involved.
Yeah.
Because the skills that you need to, you know, write code or how you submit code, I don't really understand it. It's very complicated. Whatever they do with pull requests, track tickets, I generally have no idea how to do that. And I feel as though I don't actually have the skills in terms of the code, like we were saying last week. It's just so complicated that I don't understand how it works. So how am I supposed to get involved and change it? I don't have the ability to do that. So that's why I can't really contribute. And I just feel sometimes that, do they actually want people to contribute with like ideas and things? Because I think they've just got a way forward that they want to go.
I think they've got enough GitHub issues to deal with without me adding more.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but what's everyone else's thoughts on contribute? We could probably do a whole episode on contributing.
Well, yeah.
Peter says contribute. So easy to say and so hard to do. Completely agree. Very difficult to get involved in terms of contributing. Code and not necessarily code, but ideas about features and things as well.
Just following it all as a full-time job.
Yeah,
like
I said that last week.
It's all happens. It's a fire hose of information on mostly Slack, but it's like Slack and GitHub and the Make blog and wherever else like this information comes out. It's like,
but again, I'm going to be a hypocrite now because I'm saying that it's not very good to contribute, but I don't actually know what the fix is. I've just said, the chat that has criticised the theme should probably come up with suggestions and solutions. What is the fix? I think from my point of view, it's the fact that it's all a text-based, conversations. I just cannot follow that on Slack and things like that. Very difficult to do, but lots do, and lots do some really good work doing that. So hopefully that'll continue.
Yeah. Until then,
right,
I will continue to bitch and moan.
Anyway, what else have we got to chat about? We've done 35 minutes. I don't feel as though we've got an awful lot more, to be honest. Something I was reading about was on the makewordpress.org developer, not the MakeWordpress, I'll start again. On the developer.wordpress.org news, there is a newish post, I think it might have been end of April actually, about building an example of using the block bindings API, which I was quite interested in because we do a lot with recruitment. So we have like jobs, and then we want to store data about jobs, which is usually stored in metadata or in taxonomies and things like that. So this was interesting because could we bind that data to a block, and then the customer would be able to have all the control they wanted about displaying that in a template using full site editing. So this was a good article that I wanted to read. And the key thing for me was that at the moment, you have to do this by going into the code view and like writing a HTML comment that tells it what to bind to, essentially. Hey, I'm a paragraph block. I want to be bound by a metadata. Here's the meta key that you're going to pull the data from, which is pants for a client, isn't it? Like, we don't want to be telling clients to do that. It's just silly. So this particular article was talking about creating block variations. So you have this predefined paragraph block, for example, that's going to output the location of a job. So, and because it's a variation, it automatically shows in the inserter. So you can give it a name, like job location, and it's actually just a paragraph block that's bound to a metadata. So I thought that was really interesting. It makes it much more usable for actual clients in the real world, which was good. But that was it was on the No, it wasn't. It's on developer.wordpress.org/news. And interestingly, it just landed in my inbox in this episode is the latest What is New for Developers. So I haven't obviously read it yet, but that's always a good read as well. It just gives you a nice summary of the things that are happening, which is good.
Yeah.
So I think that's us. Hopefully you enjoyed that ranting and chatting and discussion. If you did, I hope you'll join us again next week at the same time, 1:30 UK time, that is, on a Friday afternoon. Please give us a like if you enjoyed the video. Do consider subscribing, and we will see you all same time, same place next week.
See you soon.